Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 315. After a eventful and somewhat exhausting weekend from New York to Memphis to Vegas, landed back here yesterday morning. That's why we were not able to be on the air Tuesday. Little programming note, however. Couple programming notes, actually. Let me see if I can straighten this out a bit for you guys. There we go. That should be better. My apologies. Tomorrow morning, bonus show to make up for Tuesday. Talk Lakers, Warriors, instant reaction, anything that should be up and live first thing in the morning. And if you're on the West Coast, probably while you're still sleeping. So that'll come tomorrow. Tuesday, our annual way too early NFL over-under show. Normally, we would have done that this past Tuesday. However, we weren't on the air. And so our friends at DraftKings have released the full slate of NFL team win totals. So we will take our first bite at that on Tuesday. However, we got to get right into it. I thought I knew where we'd be starting the show given, the internet over the weekend. But then the internet over the last 48 hours, I was involved in a different piece of the internet. So that's in what missed the cut, but it didn't actually miss the cut. So here's what missed the cut. Damonza, great to see you. Tyreek Hill's Stokes trade rumors again. Whatever. He wants the attention. I love Tyreek, but we know what's going on. Greatest player in Syracuse basketball history. One of the greatest Olympians ever. One of the best pure scorers of his era. A no-doubt first ballot Hall of Famer, Carmelo Anthony. And then there's this. The headline from People magazine. Do Travis Kelce and his, quote, sports friend have beef? So I was playing Damonza in a poker game in Vegas when this got sent to me. And now it's everywhere on the internet, and I cannot believe I need to address this. It's on People. It's on, I think that's Al Jazeera. It's on Us Weekly. I am so incredibly, oddly frustrated by this because I think it is so recklessly unfair to Travis Kelce. So let me reset exactly what happened. Not restate, not clarify, because everything that I said, Damonza, was totally 100% clear. The recreation of this in the headlines, I didn't misspeak, I didn't misrepresent, but the headlines to me are. So this is what happened. So New Heights with Travis and Jason Kelce shouted me out after I invited myself on their show to be their salary cap expert, right? Yeah. That's what happened. And Travis said, I effing love Nick Wright. And I said, as an aside, I was like, I actually haven't spoken a lot to Travis since he and Taylor got together. With the timeline being, I said, we don't really talk during the seasons. We always, we have a kind of annual event of being able to get together at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. But 2 years ago, the parade was cut short by a tragic shooting. And this year, the parade was canceled by the Philadelphia Eagles. So those 2 times we didn't talk. And then the one off season where where normally there might be, and again, Travis, I am dear friends with Adam Lefko, who is an actual dear friend of Travis's. I think one was at the other's I think Travis was at Lefko's wedding when Travis and Taylor were in New York City for a Yankee game, and they did a live shot of Travis and Taylor. I'm like, hey, that's Lefko and his wife sitting with them. They're dear friends. Trav and I have a great relationship, but we don't hang out. We've never talked on the phone. Might text or DM occasionally, but I leave him alone during the season. And then the last off season, he was the busiest man in the world. So that's what I said. So I said, so this being represented so unfairly up to and including in the Times of India that as if Travis has cut off people in his life or gotten Hollywood. It's just total horseshit.
I feel like you said it in passing as well. Like, I remember when you said it. Like, I remember the tone and everything. It's definitely a reach.
No, listen, anyone, if I felt like I had screwed up, I would apologize. But anyone that watched the show or saw it got the exact right read of it. Where I feel badly is I don't expect, certainly, Taylor or Taylor's people to watch this show. They're welcome to. And I don't expect Travis to watch this show. And if it's represented as if someone is trying to, you'd be like, oh, we used to be super close, and then this guy, like, that's not what it was at all. And so I know that this was, I think the producers, when they first, like, brought it to my attention and pitched me on it, the tone of this was supposed to be, this is hilarious. And it would be if I knew all the parties involved also were on the exact same page. But I do feel that it is a level of fame. I texted Wilds the People headline after Daniel texted it to me. And I said, I really think Taylor Swift might be the most famous person in the world. Like, I truly think she might be the most famous person in the world if just someone at my level, whatever that is of notoriety, is having an aside about her boyfriend. And the last time we talked, if that touches enough, if her fame gravity is so great that People magazine and the Times of India are like, this will get us some foot traffic on the website. It's incomprehensible, that level of fame. And so maybe when you're that level of famous, you're just used to things being so kind of out, misrepresented or out of whack. But that was an insane realization of the reach that a true global icon has, of which Taylor Swift is. So there's the, not even clarification, but the true story. And then you got a question for me, Damonza, here? It does make a lot
of sense. Yeah. Do you think you're going to start a rebranding now in light of these events?
Because I was called not my name, but his sports friend. What's right with sports friend? Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. It's also a kind of confusing headline because it would appear like, if you just read the headline, it sounds like they're talking about another professional athlete rather than me. Because sports friend, I would think that you're talking another professional athlete. So that was, one kind of brush with the media machine associated with the world's most famous people. Odd 48 hours, because it was my second brush with that of the weekend. Damonza, go ahead.
Yeah, so over the weekend, you saw Memphis and Lakers face off. You happened to be courtside. Yep. Lakers showed out. They got the dub. But the bigger piece of this story was, like, what happened after the game. So you were going to roll it, or?
Okay, yeah, we can play it. If you're just listening on YouTube, or if you're just listening to the podcast and not watching on YouTube, what you're seeing right now is the, like, NBA cameras close up of LeBron and I dapping up after the game. And then my favorite part is your mom just standing there, like, fixing her hair. Like, that cut out the full video, which somebody got from the crowd, which includes the LeBron hug to your mom, which is just one of the coolest things, ever. And also, who I thought about when I saw this video? Because this happened Saturday night, and all these videos came out Sunday. You know what I mean? I didn't publish any of these. I didn't amplify. But somebody put out this far form video Sunday morning, and then the other videos came out and it caught fire. I got to tell you, And I know this is not what probably is smart podcasting. They're like, you're burying the lead, but I don't care. What I thought about when LeBron went in for the hug to your mom right after a hard-fought basketball game, and she reciprocated and gave him the hug, I only thought about you.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you. Oh, my God. Yes. Yes. I was literally, dude, somebody brought this up at work, and I was like, my mom would never hug me if I was in that state. Ever. Go ahead.
What do you, no, I agree with you. This isn't a hypothetical. We saw it happen 100 times. 100 times. Damonza had an awesome either AAU or high school basketball game, or when we came out to San Diego and watched you play in college and you had your career high 29 or whatever it was.
Not a full embrace like that. Not even know. Maybe a side one. Maybe a side one.
Maybe. That's all I could think about was you. I was like, oh man, this is unbelievable. And so
give me a break, man.
It's so funny that you said the same thing. Okay. So I don't even know what or how people, and then I want to talk about the actual game. Even though I don't think anybody cares about it right now. What or how people want me to say about this? What did I say the other week? One of the benefits, and this is not my quote, obviously. One of the benefits to never lying is never having to remember anything. I have never once ever misrepresented in over or under exaggerating my relationship with LeBron. It's always been, relationships evolve, but the audience has kind of been on the journey. I consider Maverick, LeBron's right-hand man and one of the smartest business people I've ever met, a good friend. Because of and I have something of a business and something of a personal relationship with Rich. Because of those relationships, I have a secondary relationship with LeBron, where, occasionally we're in the same circle. Very occasionally. It's happened a couple times. And so I said on this show repeatedly, when I knew we were going to Memphis, and when I knew that I had gotten, when I purchased the courtside seats, that interaction was certainly on the board. Now, it was going to be 100% conditional on the Lakers winning, because anybody that's watched LeBron throughout his career knows if they win, he usually has a post-game interview, he'll linger a bit on the court, and if he has friends or colleagues or whomever courtside, other pro athletes, he'll stop by, dap them up. If they lose, it's straight to the locker room. Now, what didn't get caught was the pregame interaction when I was standing with Ja Morant's dad, T, and LeBron came over and said hello to both of us, and then he and T had a brief conversation. I don't know what it was about. It was private. But I was not as shocked by that as I think the audience was. The internet, I should say. And this is where maybe my ego can get the best of me. I was a little offended is too strong of a word. I'll go nonplussed by the number of people who were asserting what a life-changing event this was for me, or oh man, finally, after all those years of good PR, finally gets his acknowledgement. That's not what it is either. However, I am a diehard sports fan. It is why I do what I do. For my entire life, the NBA, up until really Mahomes got drafted, the NBA was a clear number one in my personal sports fandom, with the NFL all by itself, but a clear number two. The last half decade of the NFL has kind of changed it to where now if I'm asked, I say the NFL regular season is my favorite. The NBA playoffs are my favorite. Like, my favorite sport to watch over the course of the year is the NFL. My favorite 2 months of the year are the NBA playoffs. But with all that said, for the majority of my life, my favorite sport in the world was the NBA. My favorite athlete ever is LeBron. And so, yeah, it's super dope that he and I have even that like level of, I don't know if you want to call it relationship, whatever it is, mutual acknowledgement, respect. I'd call it mutual respect. Yeah, is how is the way I would put it. And I also think for him, it was good timing in that, because of everything that he has been involved in the last month, it was a reminder to the audience, I'm not anti everyone in the media. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think that everybody, there's one person in particular, and then maybe a handful of unnamed, but we know who they are, retired athletes in the media that I have a problem with. But otherwise, you know what I mean? Like, there can be a level of, and the other thing about LeBron's relationship with the media is, if you ever see any of his pregame interviews, which are almost always done with the local media that covers the Lakers and then whatever team they're playing, he has seemingly real, not just cordial, but incredibly friendly relationships with a lot of those guys. Mike Trudell, who covers the Lakers, there was the video of him giving Trudell a hard time because he was wearing, I think, a Man U sweatshirt, and LeBron is a Liverpool guy because he either owns or owned a piece of it. He had, when he was with the Cavs, maybe still, a really good relationship with Allie Clifton, who will host Road Tripping with Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson. So I think that's all there. But yeah, so I knew once the first like far away clip came out, I knew this was going to be something that in some capacity was going to be addressed, but I was probably not as shocked by it as everyone else. What I really was thrilled, though, Damonza, even though I knew you probably would take it personally as you should have, that LeBron, who has met your mother once before, recognized her and acknowledged her. So that part was pretty cool. And then we can get to the game. Go ahead, though.
Wait, or do you want to get to the game, or do we? There's actually one more piece of video that we have not shown. It actually has audio. We're going to show you guys.
Hold on.
Crap.
No. Is this the one? Is this the one your mom sent to the group, to our family group chat?
Yeah, 100%. It's a little.
Seen?
Yeah, 100%. It's a little bit more up close.
Okay, so let me give. All right, before we play this. All right, this is borderline's the wrong word, but it's fine. But I also, if we're gonna play this, I want to give the full background here. So there were two guys, and you see it in fact, I don't know. Before we do it, producers, tell me, can we play the VO close shot? Again, because I want to give these guys credit. So it was a father and son that were sitting next to us courtside, and you see the father has his phone out, and he's trying to grab a picture with his son and LeBron, and it doesn't end up happening.
Oh, the small child.
So
yeah.
No, not the small child.
Oh.
Black guy with the blue hat and his son right next to him. You see that there? Not the little kid. Not the redhead. It's black father and son right next to your mom. So that guy had his camera out, recording in case, you know what I mean, he was able to get a picture with his son and LeBron. It didn't end up happening. I then asked him, because of the hug with your mom and LeBron, I was like, hey, can you send me that video later? You know what I mean? I think it'd be super dope to have. And so he said yes, and it was actually a pain for him, I think. He had to send it via Dropbox. It was so long. So I want to shout him out because his name is Sean Hornbuckle, and his son is Tristan Hornbuckle. And they're on Instagram at Sean Hornbuckle and at Tristan.Hornbuckle too. But so this one is dope because there is audio and because you hear what LeBron says to your mom. So go ahead and play that, then we'll talk about the game. So I don't know how well that played on the podcast, but it is such pairing. If you're listening on the podcast, it's worth going back to YouTube. Bron and I dap. I then kind of motion like, hey, there's my wife, who again they've met once before, and his total like disposition changes from like, you know, the what's the word? Kind of like affirmative dap to just like, oh, great to see you, and then drops a lightness. Hey there, sweetheart, and gives her a hug, which maybe led to, you know, what we were discussing earlier. So that was dope. That was what? I see the look on your face. No. that was dope, and now, I mean, your mom can send that to her grandmother, who's 91 years old and the biggest LeBron fan in the world.
Grandma's probably a little annoyed too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, because it doesn't matter. It's there was Lakers Thunder. Maybe this is just because of what happened between LeBron and Stephen A. That I assume there's cameras on LeBron at all times, every game. But maybe it's like, you know, pre and post game more now post that. Because Lakers Thunder in LA, the day after Thanksgiving, the exact same interaction that happened this week between LeBron and I happened there at Staples, except it was longer with a longer conversation, and there's no video of it anywhere. And so, but the reason I bring that up is that happened about 60 feet from where your grandmother was sitting. She was in like row 3, a section over, right. And then I walked back to the seats, and she was not joking, adamant. Why didn't you bring him over here? Yeah. I'm like, well, so
what was the problem?
Yeah. So that was that busy weekend, fun weekend. You want
to talk about Vegas
Yeah, I'll do Vegas quickly, and then we'll do the actual basketball. Went to Vegas to do some commentary for the World Poker Tour's Squid Hunt, which is coming out here in a few months. And while I was there, lived a poker player's dream, which is got invited into the big mixed game in Bobby's room. And Bobby's room, which is the world's most famous poker room inside the Bellagio, and then ended up wrapping the World Poker Tour stuff in time on Tuesday to where the same guys who were playing in that mixed game were playing the exact same format on stream at the Poker Go studio at Aria, and I played in it. And this is, again, I know some of my poker stuff, you know, the audience doesn't understand. This, they really, if you're not a poker player, won't understand. Because the mixed games that we played were, just stick with me here for a second, Badoogie, Badusi, Draw Maha, Deuce to 7 single draw, Deuce to 7 triple draw, Big O, and one other one. I can't even remember what it was. Raz. So here's what was so cool for me about that, Damonza. And it was the limits were 200, 400. But again, it's a limit game. So like if you're playing a 200, 400 no limit game, you're going to not feel comfortable if you're not sitting with, in the 200, 400 no limit hold'em cash games, you probably need at least $200,000 in front of you to feel comfortable, and probably more. The 200, 400 limit games, you could sit with 10 grand and feel comfortable, and 20 is plenty. So they just play very differently, because no limit, you can bet any amount at any time. Limit games, if it's 200, 400, the most you can ever bet on a single one bet is $400. Again, that part doesn't matter. But I'm just giving you guys the full context of it. Here's why it was so cool. Those games that I just described to you, 6 of the 7, as of Sunday night, I had played in my poker career 0 hands of. Never played any of them. However, because I'm such a poker nerd, and because I really care about learning the games, I have watched the best in the world play them on stream hundreds of hours. So it was a real test case of how much can like studying, learning, prepare you to actually do. Because normally someone, first time they'd be playing, wouldn't be playing 200, 400, they'd be playing $3, $6, whatever. But I felt like, no, I know how to play all these games. And I got to tell you, I think I played great. We'll see it when the stream comes out. I won money. For the 1% listening diehard poker nerds that'll get this, I got Pad's Poker, Patrick Leonard, who is one of the best poker players in the world, to break an 8 in deuce to 7 triple draw with a check raise bluff. That was the single best move anyone at the table made all night. And I made, a few $1,000s profit and more than held my own. And so, again, I think I made a ton of mistakes throughout the course of the night, but that was fine. It was my first time doing it, but it was not it went great. So that was as thrilling as anything that happened this weekend. Playing in Bobby's room, then playing with those guys. Shout out, one of the guys that was in the game, David Baker. He's the 2-time winner or 1-time winner of the Super Contest, and then won another thing. He's one of the best NFL handicappers in the world. He won the Westgate Super Contest years ago, and he was in the game. Nacho Barbero was in the live game, not the streamed game. Bunch of guys. There were 3 Knicks at the table. Shout out to the other Knicks. Everyone was great. And so, and the guy whose game it was, Crazy Mike. It was the Crazy Mike mix. And so shout out to all those guys. It was awesome. I had such a great time. Okay. Oh, yeah. Now 30 minutes into the show to the actual basketball. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you want to? You don't want to talk about the game, right? The Memphis.
No, because we're gonna get to Memphis and 100%. The Lakers later. Yep.
Yeah. So Jokic has been cooking. He put up 61 against Minnesota the other day. It's his highest scoring triple double. Ant acknowledged he's the best basketball player he's ever seen besides himself. Yeah, but the big story of that game was Russ kind of choking there at the end. He got the steal, smoked the layup, and then fouled the 3-point shooter at the end.
Yeah, and then last night smoked another layup with a few minutes left in a game they needed that they lost to the Spurs. So we'll get to Joker in a second. I don't take joy in being right on this, but of course anyone that has spent a season watching late stage Russell Westbrook play for teams with championship aspirations, all of them knew and all of them thought it would be different for them until they realize it's not. I was one of those people once. So here's the deal. Russell Westbrook, over the last nearly full decade, has been totally unable to contribute to winning basketball. And 4 contenders have been like, we can change him. And all 4 contenders were wrong. So he leaves the Thunder, and they pair him with James Harden for a Rockets team that thinks they can win the championship. Just a year and a half removed from winning 65 games and taking the Durant Warriors to a Game 7 in the conference finals. And it, of course, goes terribly. They divorce after 1 year. He's brutal in the playoffs. And then he goes to the one place that the Russell Westbrook experience made sense was Washington. Because Washington's like, hey, man, car keys are yours. We would just love to win 40 games. And Russ delivers. Averages another triple-double. It's all Russ all the time. Gets him into the playoffs. And then in those playoffs, you're going to be like, oh, what did he do in the playoffs? He averaged another triple-double. In the playoffs, he shot 33% from the floor, and they lost in 5. Then the Lakers were like, we can change him. And the Lakers missed the playoffs the 1 year he's there in full, have to get off him, and promptly make the conference finals without him. The Clippers, we can change him. And with the Clippers, they're like, oh, he's better here. He's accepted his role. And in his one full season with the Clippers, they make the playoffs. And in those playoffs, he plays 19 minutes a game, averages 6 points on 26% from the field, 23% from 3, and they move off him. And then the Nuggets, we can change him. It'll be different here. And the playoffs are approaching. And you got a little sneak preview of what to expect. And again, I take no pleasure in this because I have such respect for Russell's career and the way he approaches playing hard at all times. What I do take a little pleasure in is Nuggets fans who got a little chesty at the beginning of the year, Damonza. A lot of, do a Twitter search for these 3 nouns. Jokic, LeBron, Russ. And see how many tweets pop up from November and December along the lines of, oh, why couldn't LeBron get out of Russ what
Russ
Joker is?
Scapegoat,
Why? Russ got blamed for everything in LA, but put him with a guy like Joker and look at, guys, this train is never late. It's never late.
I think Russ also has lost a lot of his athleticism, and I think that's kind of that's obvious. He's getting older, but on that layup that he smoked, I was telling Daniel a few years ago, Russell was dunking that, man. I just feel like it's a little late.
That's exactly right. By the way, that's another time where the exact take you gave was the exact take, and this is a compliment that Brew gave yesterday.
Oh,
which is that was. It might have been Wild's one of them, but either way, that used to be a dunk, and it's not anymore. You're on this one, and so in life, what often is your greatest asset becomes your greatest liability. Russ going one speed at all times. Russ, playing a certain way, Russ's relentlessness is what made him him, and now it's what makes him a total liability to winning basketball. Also, by the way, to winning basketball. And it's a disaster. The Nuggets aren't deep enough to be able to just put them on ice. But man, oh man, like I don't know. I don't know how you can put him in critical playoff games. And here's the other piece of it. I thought of that sequence, Damonza, the missed layup was the least of the problems. Missed layups happen. Yeah. I thought it was a bigger problem that after missing the layup in a 1-point double overtime game with 10 seconds left, he stood under the basket, arms up, whining for a beat, which then allowed the Timberwolves to get the advantage. And obviously, the worst part of the play was not only did he foul a three-point shooter, he fouled a three-point shooter, Damonza, on a fake contest. Yeah. That wasn't one of those, oh man, I almost blocked it and instead I hit him. No, I mean, it was a fake contest. And then, I don't know if you saw Rob Perez's video, then when he's leaving the court.
With the fan?
Yeah, I mean, buddy, like.
Man, I feel Russ is, it's unfortunate, man. Why do they leave the camera on the man's face for so long when they make a mistake?
Well, that's, it's the drama. I mean, that's how, I get that.
It's like, this is the guy that messed up. But yeah, he's got to stop chirping the fans. You screwed up, and the fans are going to.
Right. Like, now listen, if it comes out the fan, dropped a slur, then of course, right. Whatever. But my feeling was it wasn't that.
No, Russ is going up there just off of Westbrook.
Yes, Westbrook, exactly. Exactly. And so, like, it's a tough. Now, our resident Nuggets fan, Daniel, I still believe in Russ. Good luck with that, man.
What he said?
Again, Westbrook, this decade, guys, it's 2025. This decade in the playoffs, 37% from the field, 27% from three. 3.5 turnovers a game in 31 minutes. You can't win that way. You just can't. And so, rough spot. I know you have some follow-ups here. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, even with Russ playing the way he is, could you still consider counting out the Denver Nuggets with Jokic being on the team?
No. So, listen, that's the shame of it, is Jokic has one of the greatest games in NBA history, and it gets squandered. Now, again, I saw Luka last year have a 73, 10, and 7. And then all year long be 4th or 5th in the standings and be ineligible for MVP. So I'm not doing another MVP thing. Shea's team might win 70 games. He's going to win the scoring title. We are. If we want to here's the deal. Nugget fans, if you make up this petition, I'll sign it. If you would like to retroactively give last year's MVP to Luka so Joker can win this year, I'm all for it. But last year, the argument against Luka was Joker's team has the best record. He's averaging, Joker's averaging damn near, his numbers are great, even if they're not quite as good as Luka's, but it's contributing to winning more. And last year, Joker was the better defender than Luka. It's got to be Joker, and Luka ended with 4 first-place votes. You can't then use all of your Joker arguments from last year this year and not end up with Shea. The logical consistency of the last 2 years voting would either go Luka last year, Joker this year, or Joker last year, Shea this year. Joker already won last year, so it's Shea's. Now, is Joker the best player in the league? Yes. Is Joker the only person, and this is what Nuggets fans should take pride in, is Joker the only person you could put on that Nuggets team and they would have any chance of winning the championship. Yes. He's the only guy in the league. And they do have a chance. Not a good chance, but they do have a chance. The standings, are we going to get to the standings later in the show?
Really.
No. So I'll do it here. Those 2 losses, however, because they lost again last night. Now, they sat everyone. By the way, I should have put this out. Our friends at DraftKings might have been annoyed with me, but I should have put it out. I gave it to Hubs. Yesterday, at 1 p.m., the money line for the Spurs were 10-point dogs, and they were plus 380 on the money line. And I said to Hubs, I was like, this line is acting like Joker's going to play. I don't think he is. He's played 53 minutes the night before. And Joker then got announced as out. The line dropped to damn near a pick'em, and the Spurs won. So shout out to anyone who sniped that, because that, to me, I just couldn't believe. We knew Jamal Murray wasn't going to be playing. I couldn't believe it. But here's the standings implication. Denver's now the 4. Again, some time left. Not a lot, though. 5 games left. Houston sitting at 27 losses. The Lakers, and at this point in the season, guys, just count losses. You can make up wins. You can't make up losses. So don't talk about games back, any of that. Count the losses. That's what matters. Oklahoma City, pretty comfortable with 12 losses. Unbelievable. Houston's at 27 and clinched their playoff spot last night. The Lakers are at 29. The Nuggets are at 30. The Warriors are at 31. Minnesota is at 32. And the 2 play-in teams that are good, the Clippers and well, I don't know if they're good, but that are above 500, the Clippers and Grizzlies are at 32. So, Houston, safe from the play-in, barring, safe from the play-in entirely, because they clinched their division. Does that keep you safe from the play-in? I'm pretty sure it does. But here's what I will say about Houston. Houston's next 5, or last 5, final 5, Damonza, Thunder, Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets. Yeah. So anybody that has some doubts is Houston. Well, it's all the teams they could play in round 1 of the playoffs, except for the Thunder, obviously. Can't play them. But, yeah, I mean, we're going to find out over these next 5. The Lakers right now would give anything, Damonza, to freeze the standings. Because, Denver, Golden State play each other in round 1, and the winner plays Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. If you froze the standings, the Lakers side of the bracket would be Minnesota and then Houston. Or I guess maybe the Clippers. The Lakers would love that road. I don't know that they'll get it, but it would absolutely love that road.
You too.
The Daniel asking if I would, like to face the size of the Timberwolves. Again, the West is a monster, and there's no easy outs right now except for Memphis. But Memphis is going to, in my opinion, end up the 8 seed. So you're not going to be able to get Memphis. And, I would take my chances. I don't want to face I don't want to face Denver or Golden State immediately. And I love the idea of being on the opposite side of OKC. Again, I think the Lakers can win the whole thing. But it doesn't mean all paths are created equal. I'll tell you who Denver doesn't want to face. Denver would be fine with the Warriors. I think they've beaten the Warriors 9 straight games. Denver doesn't want to face Minnesota, who has now beaten them 6 games in a row. Swept them this season, and then beat them games 6 and 7 of the playoffs last year.
Would you give them the benefit of the doubt If they were in a series, you're taking Minnesota. I'd take it.
You have to pick Minnesota.
Right.
Minnesota's won 6 straight. They've won 6 straight against them. All right, let's talk Lakers-Warriors.
Yeah, so Steph is looking good. He's had a few games back since his injury. The other day, he dropped 52. He had 12 three-pointers. So the Warriors are looking pretty good, which is bad for your Lakers, who they play tonight, and they could also be potentially playing them in the playoffs.
Yep.
How do you feel? The Lakers got them, but they're coming off of a lot of rest.
Yeah, so I think the Warriors are... Everyone's making this Warriors 18-2 with Jimmy, 18-5 since the trade about Jimmy. It's about what it's let Steph go back to being. Steph, before the Jimmy trade, was 22 a game. Since the Jimmy trade's at 28 a game on better efficiency. Popped off for 52 the other night. If you are getting close to prime Steph, you're a threat. When you have, and it's also a reminder, if you have one of the greatest players of all time, you have an obligation to always be all in. You can't throw seasons away because you might go another 50 years in your franchise and not have a player nearly as good as Steph Curry. Now, I think both teams desperately need this game, which is what makes it so fascinating because of what I was saying about the standings. The Lakers, if the Lakers win, all of a sudden they have 29 losses. Golden State has 32. And by the way, the Lakers have the tiebreaker over everyone beneath them in the standings. Every single team. So a win tonight for the Lakers essentially eliminates any concern of falling into the play-in, and it doesn't lock up a top 4 seed, but it essentially does. And for the Warriors, if they lose, they're at 32 losses. Memphis and the Clippers have 32 losses. They're the 7 and the 8. Minnesota has 32 losses. They're at the 6. But the flip side to that applies as well. Golden State wins, Damonza. The Lakers are at 30 losses. Golden State's at 31. And Golden State could potentially, forget hitting in the play-in, end up with home court in round 1. The Lakers this year, it's one of the oddest things ever. They are dominant against the Western Conference. So the Lakers and the Thunder have almost the same record against the West. Think about that. So the Thunder are 35-11 against the West, which means they are 35-11, 29-1. No, is that right? Yeah, 29-1 against the East. The Thunder are 29-1 against the East, 35-11 against the West. The Lakers are 32-13 against the West. The second best record of the Thunder by a mile in the Western Conference. 32-13 the Lakers are against the West, which means the flip side to that is they are 14-16 against the East.
Terrible on the road this year.
Say it again.
They're bad on the road this year.
Correct.
Really bad.
Yeah. So the Lakers have been an awesome home team, a bad road team. But your West and East, you play half your games against the East at home, half on the road. So the Lakers are at home. They need it. They're playing a good team. I like the Lakers. The tricky thing for the Lakers is, when you look at their final 5 games, you can't do what you can do with most of the good teams, which is be like, and the Lakers don't have 5 left. Hold on. Lakers have 7 left. That's right, because they have the fire games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless, most teams you'd be like, we'll chalk up a win against the Pelicans and Blazers. Lakers liable to lose to any bad team, but they also are excellent against the good teams. So I'm really excited to see tonight. It could be a playoff preview. If it is, I hope it's not round one. Not because the Lakers would have, couldn't beat the Warriors, but I just don't want a guarantee that one of the two is out of there in round one. Yeah. There is a team that I am certain is out of there in round one. It's the team I saw in person on Saturday. Go ahead, Damonza.
Yeah, so they've been struggling over the last few weeks. They've won 2 of their last 10 games.
The Grizzlies, this is.
The Grizzlies, 100%. And 9 games left to go. They fired their head coach, and now they're at risk of falling into the play-in. Ja Morant's holding up the finger guns. I think they're doing an investigation on him right now. But let's talk about the state of the Grizzlies.
Okay, so just literally a minute ago, Shams tweeted, let me read it to you exactly. NBA issued warnings, but no further penalties to Grizzlies Ja Morant and Buddy Hield, along with the teams for the gestures. League ruled the celebrations were not intended to be violent in nature, but inappropriate and should refrain. All right. I want to make this clear. I don't care about the gun part of this. That's a different discussion. The pantomiming guns and that distracts from the point. Here's what I care about, Damonza. Any type of taunt or celebration when there's 10 seconds left in a game your team needed that you let the other team's guys score 50 and you just lost to continue a 4-game losing streak days after you fired your coach and you're being a goofball. That's what I care about. And like I said, I talked to T at the Grizzlies game. I like Ja's dad. I like him. Historically, I've liked Ja. John this offseason needs to decide, who do I want to be in this league? Because you've gone from your numbers have gotten worse over each of the last 4 years. Your health has gotten worse over each of the last 4 years. Your team has gotten worse over each of the last 4 years. You just fired your coach, and you're out here being a goofball. Go ahead.
So they were talking about Ja Morant being the face of the league a year ago. I think
correct.
Like maybe a little over a year.
Yeah, before the gun stuff. Talks. But yes, of course. And even when the stupid gun stuff was happening, nobody questioned
his skill, his ability,
how good he was. Right. So that's nobody was wondering how great he is. He's never got better as a shooter. In fact, he maybe has gotten worse. 30% from 3. Misses 40% of the games with injury. Doesn't seem to take winning seriously. The hell's going on? 25 years old. And to me, the most notable piece of the entire incident between he and Hield was the look on Steph Curry's face. Because Steph Curry's face was like a look of honestly like a disappointed parent. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like what? What are you doing?
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying I'm not focused on the gun piece of it is if the Grizzlies had just hit free throws to go up 7 with 10 seconds left, and Ja did that celebration, I would feel totally differently, which means I know for me it's not about the gun piece of it. And again, gun in quotes, finger guns. Like, it's about being ready to party when your team's falling apart. It's pro sports, man. It's the playoff push. You just fired your coach. It was 4 straight losses against the 4 teams most likely to stand between you and a championship. They lost to the Thunder, then they lost to the Lakers, then they lost to the Celtics, then they lost to the Warriors. and you're being a goofball. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Finals are here, and the only thing for sure is it's the last time you're going to have a chance to bet on college basketball this season. It's been an amazing ride to get here, an unprecedented run to this point with four of the four best teams, including four of the best teams in recent college basketball history getting there. Maybe there will finally be a shocking outcome, or maybe we're just going to keep seeing the best show you why they're the best. More on that in a second. Get in on all the action, expected and unexpected, with DraftKings Sportsbook. With live betting, exclusive content, promos, and parlays, DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. Ready to make your first bet? Check out the matchups and pick a team to win. It's that simple. Me personally, you guys know I was in on Tennessee. It didn't work out. Now we pivot. We pivot. Thus far, this has been a tournament where the best team wins. The best team is Duke. I personally like Duke minus 5.5 tonight at even money. Not tonight, this weekend. I also personally like Duke to win the championship at even money. So Duke minus 5.5 in their game on Saturday at even money. Duke plus 100 to win the whole thing at even money. Better late than never. It's what I'm going with now that Tennessee's gone. Lines and odds subject to change. First time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Bet the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WRIGHT. That's code WRIGHT for new customers, WRIGHT, to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. All right, Damonza, let's rapid fire through the rest of these if we can.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was seen working out with his new teammate, DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh. Are you excited to see that tandem next year? Nah, I'm kidding. He hasn't signed yet. What's going on with Aaron Rodgers? What's going on there? Guy's taking his time.
I don't understand why the Steelers... Here's the deal. I understood why the Steelers were letting him dictate the terms when he had a bunch of options. He could go to New York. Maybe Minnesota was interested. He's out of options. The Giants signed 2 quarterbacks. Minnesota's not signing him. Tennessee's drafting their quarterback. Pittsburgh. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Call Aaron's agent and say, we need to know within the week or we're out. The leverage has shifted back to you. He wants to play for you. So why hasn't he signed? My guess is he doesn't want to either. He doesn't want to be on the hook for the full offseason program, or more accurately, he wants to be able to potentially pressure you into not spending your first round pick on a quarterback, be it Shador if he slips or Jackson Dart if you love him. And he thinks if he hasn't signed yet, but has made it clear, oh, I'm going to sign, that you guys won't draft a quarterback because it could upset him. Don't let him run things. He has nowhere else to go.
And if they do draft a quarterback, what's he going to do?
If he hasn't signed yet, then maybe he just won't sign.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe then he will, retire or wait to see if there's an injury somewhere, whatever it is. But you can't let a guy who's never played for you and hasn't been good in 4 years dictate your draft plans and your offseason plans. The damn owner of the team came out yesterday and said, yeah, we thought it'd be done by now. I've never seen a team that has no history with a player, when the player is not still awesome, jump through these hoops. It's just baffling to me. All right, next.
Jerry Jones still hasn't come to closing a deal on Micah Parsons. He's actually taking a shot at his agent during the process. He said, the agent is not a factor here or something to worry about, and I don't know his name. And so my point is, I'm not trying to demean him in any way, but this isn't about an agent. Why would Jerry Jones say something of this sort?
So here's the deal. And I actually think this is a real story because there's only two possible truths here, okay? One truth is he forgot the agent's name or doesn't know it, David Mulugeta. If that is the case, David's not an obscure agent. He negotiated the Deshaun Watson deal. He negotiated Malik Hooker, who's a Cowboy, his deal. If your general manager does not know the agent's name for your best player, then it's time to take the car keys away from him. And people are like, oh, well, he definitely knows his name. Okay, that's fine. That's door number two. Door number two is he does know his name, and he's being unnecessarily and intentionally disrespectful and combative with someone you have to work with. That ain't good either. You know what I mean? Like, either he's telling the truth, and that's a problem, or he's just saying it to piss the guy off, and that's dumb. Like, there's no win there. No win whatsoever. And it really, Jerry Jones, for a long time, was one of the best things the Cowboys had going for them. He has quickly become their single biggest impediment to winning. And for a franchise with that history and a brand of that caliber, it's just unfathomable that they are the worst run team in the league. But right now, they appear to be the worst run team in the league. All right, let's go on to
doesn't seem like a great guy either. But it's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. He's just an. Yeah, I certainly didn't seem like, that we'd be going to the same parties.
Yeah.
All right, let's do mock drafts, Damonza.
So yeah, you were one of the top mock drafters last year. You haven't said too much about it this year. Do you have a mock draft for the folks out there?
Monday, first things first. Mock draft 1.0.
Oh yeah.
I think I had the world's 18th most accurate mock draft last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
I even remember 18. I didn't know that was the.
It might have been 21. It was somewhere. It wasn't in the top 15, but it was in the top 25. I remember that. I'll have to look it up.
Double digits.
Yeah, it was, and there were hundreds and hundreds done by media members. Schrager crushed. Schrager had the most accurate. So yeah, Monday on the TV show, the first mock draft gets revealed. All right, next.
All right, so yeah, Cooper Flagg has looked like the real deal throughout the tournament and obviously throughout his short college career. He'll be 18 when he hits the NBA. Do you think that he's going to be a real deal or he's going to be more of a bust or flame out? I mean, obviously not a bust, but,
Well, you can't say obviously. I mean, the only way you can be a bust is if you're a super high draft pick, and the only way you can be a super high draft pick is if people think you're going to be awesome. But no, I am not. So you guys know I'm not, watching a ton of college basketball during the regular season. And so it's not that I hadn't seen Cooper Flagg, but I had, not watched him as closely as the people who are college basketball diehards. To me, he's been better than advertised. I thought his game against Arizona was spectacular. And you guys just heard in the DraftKings read, I'm in on Duke. I mean, he's so far and away the best player in college basketball. And here's the crazy thing, Damonza. He doesn't turn 19 until December. So he's going to be the same age. He's going to be the age LeBron was when he came into the league, meaning like he reclassified. So he should be a high school senior, but he's a college freshman. He's tall, he's strong, shoots it well enough, good IQ, can defend. No. Now, do I think he's going to be like a super duper star? We got to wait and see that. But he is the no doubt obvious number one pick. All right, let's go to the final four before we get to the listener questions.
So Saturday, Florida and Auburn face off before Duke and Houston face off in the Final Four. Do you have any predictions for the end of the tournament?
I'd like Houston to win because I like Kelvin Sampson, and we used to live there. But the tournament has been chalk, and I am going to stick with chalk. Duke over Florida, and then Duke wins it all.
What is Duke this chalk thing? I've been hearing it all week. I've not asked anybody. When you say chalk, context clues meaning that it's linear. Like what is it? Like what does it mean? It's like
favorites win.
Okay.
Chalk means it goes the way. I don't know. So I've
like
always
rock,
known
chalk,
what it
Jayhawk.
meant. No, that's you're thinking of. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with that. I don't know. Let's find out together. Why is a favorite winning called chalk? Daniel says it's horse racing, but I want to know so here we go. From vocabulary.com. The history of chalk dates back to the old days of horse racing, when bookmakers would set the odds for each horse by writing them on a chalkboard at on-track gambling stations. The odds would change during the pre-race betting period depending on the amount wagered on each horse. So the bookmakers would often need to erase the posted odds and chalk up new ones before beginning of the race. The bookies at the track had to be skillful with the chalk to keep their slate boards up to date with the latest odds. In reporting on horse racing around the turn of the 20th century, sports journalists often referred to bookmakers with such flowery appellations as the lively knights of the chalk and blackboard, or more simply, knights of the chalk. Chalk gradually came to stand for the bookmakers and their odds making through the process of metonymy, defined by the visual thesaurus as substituting the name of an attribute or feature for the name of the thing itself. For instance, a racing column in the October 15th, 1903 Atlanta Constitution reported, the first race, the chalk figures made it look like 5 entries and 6 favorites for the event. Those who followed the odds put up by the bookmakers could thus stay loyal to the chalk and bet on the favored horses. Or they could look for an entrant with long odds that could potentially get a bigger payout. A quote from April 27, 1907, Washington Post encapsulates the ambivalence that bettors felt toward the chalk of the bookies. Chalk scares many a turf speculator. Let him pick a horse to win, and if he thinks he ought to be the favorites and the bookies lay a big price against him, 9 times out of 10, the horse won't be played.
All right, listeners, I made a mistake.
No, I'm fascinated by this. And
all right, so
now we know. So that's great. So that I respect that you weren't afraid to ask the question. And I've always known what chalk meant. I didn't know that's where it came from. So right. Chalk just means all the favorites winning. So when you're filling out a bracket, picking all 1 seeds to make the Final Four is a chalk bracket. It happened though this year. Yep. First time it happened since 2008.
People are saying it's NIL's fault.
Yeah. Let's see what happens next year on it. All right, let's do a few listener questions before we get out of here.
Logan, Nick, why do you still not have an NBA awards vote? What is the process in order to get a vote? And do you think you could get one in the future? You seem like you'd be a pretty good voter.
I would have thought so. I don't know. And so, I don't know.
Maybe it's your relationship with LeBron.
No, I don't know. It's fine. I really, really wanted one a few years ago, and I tried to get one and I didn't. I think Kendrick Perkins got it instead, and it just is what it is. So Zach Lowe gave his away, or gave his back. Shout out to Zach, by the way, for being back. Shout out to Simmons. Congrats to him for getting Zach with the ringer. Oh, speaking of awards voters, there's a young woman who covers the Lakers who I've never met, but she asks LeBron some of the most kind of the question she asked LeBron leads to some of his best answers. She asked him a few weeks ago, if you guys saw the viral clip of someone asking LeBron about why he's compared basketball to music or jazz, and then he went on a nice little soliloquy about how basketball is like listening to jazz or different music. And then just the other day, she asked him about why it was important for him to bring back Mind the Game, and he gave a really interesting answer. Her name, and I apologize if I mispronounced it, is Claire DeLune. She just tweeted she got an awards vote. So that's awesome. Like, those are people that are at games and watching games and really covering teams. I'm totally cool with them having awards votes. Listen, I shouldn't act like I'm not cool with other people. Since they have expanded the pool to include people that talk about the sport, commentators and stuff, I would have liked to have gotten one. I don't have one, it's fine. Brew's got one, and Brew, so first things first is covered. But Brew has one from back as his days, as a writer, and he's had one forever. All right, let's do a couple more.
Brandon, do you think we'll look back on Giannis like we do Wilt? As in, how did someone so dominant not win more titles?
Well, look, Giannis got a long ways to go to where we think of him as Wilt, but I do think Giannis, Dame's injury and the Bucks' future, like Giannis's ability to compete for championships despite being one of the three best players in the league is very murky in the short term. Next.
Jacob, Santa Cruz local here. Nick, what is your favorite food spot in Santa Cruz? Would you love to try out a new spot? My suggestion to you is Wright Deli. Love you, brother.
Well, thank you, Jacob. I don't know much about Santa Cruz. People have seen me wear the Santa Cruz hoodie. It's because Damonza's sister, my older daughter, goes to UC Santa Cruz. But I haven't spent a ton of time out there, just, moving her into college, picking her up, stuff like that. So I don't know, but I will try Wright Deli. All right, last one.
Barif, Nick, I was in New York City a couple weeks ago, and I got to stop by Trentage. Nice to see entrepreneurship runs in the family.
Yeah, shout out to Trentage. Danielle's store's doing great. Former home of this podcast. All right, great job, everybody. I got to get to TV. Again, reminder, we'll do a quick show tomorrow morning recapping Lakers-Warriors. So subscribe, like, rate, review. That really helps. By the way, I don't know if you've looked, Damonza. Let me try to pull it up real quick. We are approaching 200,000. We're at 194,000 and change. So almost 200,000 subscribers. It'd be sick if we could somehow get to 200,000, early in the NBA playoffs, and then maybe pop a big number during a playoff reaction show, add some subscribers. So subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. See you guys on TV in a few hours. What's right?